Hi Taurus, welcome to your October 2019 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. So I'm debuting a new deck that I ordered last week, and it's called Ethereal Visions. I'm going to show you the box in case you like that kind of thing. See how it glimmers with that gold? I love that. Illuminated Tarot deck. That's what I guess the illumination is supposed to be. And this is the back of the cards. I love this. I've been oohing and eyeing over this. It's just it's more pleasant to have that additional thing to look at that's so pretty, you know. So I do find the aesthetics of this really nice. And they call this artistic influence the, pick an additional card because I'm Seven of Swords. Okay. They call it Art Nouveau. So I can't think of any, I don't know if Modigliani, if that was a famous artist that was part of that, I'm not sure, type of style. So the heart of the matter is the Three of Swords. This is a card of, in some cases, rejection, but it can also be of like, kind of like very cleanly making a break when it comes to something. Actually, let me think here because, yeah, you know, there's going to be a full moon in your 12th house. And this is around, I think it's around like either the 12th or 13th of October in Aries, wherever you live in the world. And so a full moon in the 12th house is interesting because the 12th house is the last house, and full moons can be bringing things to a point of like no return, a crisis, or just like kind of completion. So you have an energy of completion in the house that's of the last house. So you may, for some reason, Taurus, be done with something. 12th house can be addictions, you know, and if you have something that you've been trying to just like put behind you, compulsion, addiction, or any kind of, bad habit that kind of has kept you down, this can be a time when you just drop it, you know, when you just let it go. That's actually the best kind of, you know, quitting style, when you can just let it go, where you don't have to try so hard, where you're not like just, you know, hanging out with your fingernails. Also, this can apply to relationships. Obviously, with the Three of Swords, and they show a heart. I mean, this deck is pretty faithful to Rider-Waite, so the imagery is going to be quite similar in a lot of cases. And you know, that idea of being rejected, and maybe even like a lover's triangle that's taking place. And either for whatever reason, you know, maybe like, why am I in this position to begin with? Maybe you're waiting for the other party to make a decision. But I will say that even if that is the case, you could easily just say, I'm done, and walk away. And feel that sense of like finality over it. If it's been kind of like one of those things that have been leaving you twisting in the wind, and all of a sudden you just like let it go. So it could be just about anything, even a job. Yeah, like passed over for a promotion, and then you just like, for one moment you think, oh, poor me, and then you're done. Because really, when I look at the past position, we have the Ten of Wands. And this is like, I mean, you could have taken on extra work thinking that this was going to lead to a promotion and then get screwed over, you know? And that might just be enough to kind of, you know, push you out of that martyrdom and say, haha, no way, I'm out of here. And it's interesting too, because Taurus is a sign that tends to stick around even, you know, maybe sometimes when you should leave, but you have an insult level, and so nobody should ever get that twisted. Just because you can be accommodating doesn't mean you don't have an insult level. And if somebody pushes the envelope a little bit too much, they're going to find that out right quick, and they're going to have to face their own consequences because you're not playing. Actually, this to me is a very self-empowered kind of situation, those top three cards. I don't see it as, you know, woe is me, I got my heart broken. I don't see that at all. I see it like, you know, the best way to stop the bleeding is to, like, just, I was going to say cut out the heart altogether. No, it's not about cutting out your heart and not feeling something. Although swords is connected with detachment because it's connected with the air signs. So it can be that the person who broke your heart is an air sign. Aquarius is the one that comes to mind first, but there's also Gemini or Libra. And you may have tried your best to make it work and done, you know, more than your fair share. As evidenced by the Ten of Wands, and it was still not good enough. Same with work situation. You give them an inch, they take a mile, and you're done. Because it's kind of like, I mean, it's not really like scheming to work extra hard so they can get a promotion. I think most people assume that that's how it works in the business world or the professional world, that you try to go the extra mile. And when you do that, you're expecting something in return. This isn't a charity. You're giving of your time and efforts. And it should be mutual. So if you feel like maybe even in a weird way that you were getting jerked around, that somebody was implying that you were going to get some kind of a promotion if you only, you know, took on this extra work, and then you found out they were just using you, or they're just trying to, you know, fill the gap in between hiring another person. So it could be, I mean, boy, would that be a slap in the face that you did extra work, they hired somebody else, and then they gave that person a promotion or something like that. So it's just, I mean, I could go on and on, but I think you get the gist of it. The higher message is the Nine of Wands. I actually got this in the same position for another card, and some of the same scenario with the Ten of Wands. And basically, as the spiritual message, it's saying that you have to have some kind of boundaries. You have to set boundaries. But one thing I want to say too is you should set them early. And it doesn't mean, sometimes with the Nine of Wands, it can be having too rigid boundaries. Sometimes people have been hurt so much that they become overreactive. And they, you know, they feel like they have to cut things off at the pass, but they're a little bit too reactive in the opposite direction. With the Nine of Wands, you set healthy boundaries. And healthy boundaries means that what you're saying you will and won't do makes a lot of sense, and it's not to the extreme. It's very balanced, and it's basically when you know yourself and you know what you're capable of and what and just knowing what you deserve to have in your life. Some people don't realize when somebody else is taking advantage of them. And it's very important to be able to tune into that and not be kind of like naive. And I think sometimes when people are too eager to please, that's when they lose that discernment as it relates to kind of setting boundaries. And it's not about it being anybody's fault, that anybody's doing anything wrong. It's simply a matter of, being observant of the dynamics around you. Like if somebody is kind of treating you in a disrespectful way, and it might be in a very subtle kind of a treatment. It might not be something that you can put your finger on, but you just know that every time you try to talk to them, I'm talking about like a boss, for instance, and they just kind of blow you off a lot. And that should be a red flag. If they're not, like if there's a sense of like a pecking order, even though there is, if somebody is your boss, but if they are kind of condescending to you and things like that, but then maybe sometimes they're nice to you when they want something, that should be one of the first red flags. And so that's how you decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you aren't. And it can extend to the way people talk to you as well. Even, I remember, I think she was a Sagittarian like me. And we were working in a retail environment, and I was working more of a full-time, and she was just like, she already had a day job, and so she'd come there after work and work there in the evenings sometimes. And the person who was working in the evenings as our supervisor was about like 10 years younger than both of us, somewhere in that ballpark. And so one time he asked her to do something, and she goes, "Look, I just want to make this clear. I work with you, not for you." And he backed off really quickly. He was a Virgo, so maybe that had something to do with it. But, I would never say something like that, because I really do believe that if somebody he was an assistant manager, he does have that hierarchy. I mean, it exists, and I do respect that kind of thing, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about just wanting to be the boss yourself in a place when you are clearly an underling. It's about, gauging how somebody is treating you. If they are respectful of your time, people who are disrespectful, they assume that you're going to do something. There's a sense of entitlement there. And this is one of the things that you can tell is a red flag. So it all depends on the circumstances, I guess, of, whether or not it's true for you. Okay, so what crosses you is the Tower card. And this is a card that, is all about, I haven't seen this card yet because I'm still getting familiar with it. So it does have a lot of that gold. See in the background, that's cool. And the Tower card, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the Tower card being a calamity, something happening suddenly that's shocking or something like that. This isn't a challenge position. I think that it's, for Taurus, there's always that fear of the rug being pulled out from under you. So in other words, you're the sign that is particularly sensitive to issues surrounding security, and you don't really like surprises. So whereas other people may go to work every day, and they're not worried about getting fired. They're like, okay, well, they want to fire me, bring it on. I'm not going to just curl up if somebody fires me. But The fixed signs, like Taurus and Scorpio and Leo and Aquarius, they really kind of organize their lives around a routine, a schedule, a rhythm. And when you feel that that rhythm is disrupted, that can be very kind of disturbing to you. So you know, that is kind of a stumbling block that you have to get beyond, is this fear of the unknown, which the Tower card can usher in. And it doesn't mean that you get fired because you're a crappy worker. It could be like a layoff because they just, you know, have to. I mean, it's kind of like some kind of like, you know, reduction in the workforce. And it's nothing personal. But there's something that you're taking personal here. And, I mean, possibly, I shouldn't say in all cases. Somebody said to me, you know, be more decisive. In one of my readings recently, make up your mind or something like that. And the thing about these types of readings, especially with tarot in general, even if I was doing a private reading, I really would have to wonder, because the cards are so open to interpretation, what really it means to the individual. Well, here I am doing it for everybody who happens to be a Taurus person. So that makes it even more so the case that I want to reach, you know, touch as many of you as possible with some of these cards. And so when you can operate where you're not afraid of, you know, the what ifs, what if I lose my job? What if my partner cheats on me? Or in this case, what if they choose the other person over me and you're just cool about it? I think it's less likely that you would attract that situation in the first place. It can be agonizing if you're the one who is waiting for somebody to decide whether or not to stay with you. The Tower in the challenge position could be that this is what happened that led to that Three of Swords. You may have discovered that your partner was cheating. Now, this would have been something before. I'm not saying that, because this is probably like an ongoing situation, Taurus. So if you're listening in September, I don't even think that it would be something up and coming. It'd be more like something that you're coping with. And you might be like, okay, now I know, so I'm going to try to like just move on with my life here. And maybe you're willing to forgive or what have you. But the Tower card keeps bringing up that trauma or that surprise, and it challenges your forgiveness because you may be still angry about whatever the situation is. Same thing with being passed over for a promotion. The advice, or what's coming in, is the Seven of Cups. This is the card I was mentioning that this is one of the few cards so far that I've encountered that doesn't really make much sense. In the Rider-Waite deck, they do have a snake and maybe even a dragon, you know, coming out of various cups to kind of point out that you have to make a good choice. And it may look good, but it's really not. But having said that, this one just has this dragon. It's not even in a cup. So in any case, I don't think the little booklet that came with this actually goes into the background of why the person came up with this imagery. But in any case, this can be the card of multiple choices. Maybe you're not sure what is the right route to go in. And you might be tempted with some of the choices that you have, if you have multiple choices, but you have to be careful because they may look better than they really are. Sometimes this is a card of confusion or daydreaming, you know. wishful thinking, wanting something to be other than what it is. So wanting your relationship to be how it used to be, or to be respectful when it has never really been respectful, or your workplace, what have you. So the outcome card that I picked, which I decided to pick an additional card, is the Seven of Swords. This is a card, if you look at the person's expression, there's a bit of a sketchiness to this person. I mean, maybe somebody would argue with me about that person's expression. But this card represents somebody that can be cheating, can be, going behind your back, can even be physical theft sometimes. And I would say too, like if this was a promotion thing, that someone may be doing something behind the scenes to try to get one over on you. And also this card can represent you leaving a situation, but in a very subtle way. So in other words, instead of saying, I quit, I'm never working, you people suck, and blah, 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 but you're just like kind of easing out of something and using your brain to do it. Swords, using your intelligence to extricate yourself from a situation. And I picked an additional card, and I got the Knight of Wands. And this could indicate that you're charging ahead. And there's almost like a little bit of chaos associated with this card. Maybe a lot of chaos. And it can be that you're the type of Taurus who, when you can get angry about something, then you can really take chances. But you have to get that sense of outrage up before you can really make your move. But once you have made it, it's like you're just ballsy. You're bold about it, and you're not, meek and mild. And you're just like going after it. You're, galloping into the unknown, but you're sensing adventure. You're feeling adventurous, rather than scared, rather than, apprehensive. So it can lead to great outcomes because there's that feeling of strength behind it, confidence, which is present with fire energy. Okay, Taurus, that's what I have for you. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. If you sign up for my newsletter, if you are considering a private reading, go to my website, rainandmoonastrology.com, and on the homepage there's actually a little mailing list. I'm trying to compile names for my mailing list, not so I can just irritate you every other day, but I realize now that it's very important, especially in this time period, with all the changes that are going on with YouTube and all that stuff, to get some of your information. I mean, even subscribers, you may not have subscribed to my mailing list, and sometimes I have special offers or special developments. So this is a special offer right now. I think I've set it until September 28th or something for the deadline, but I'll probably extend it since this reading is from October. But yeah. So anyway, take care of yourselves. Bye.